guys, it's Simmy, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Monday, and we're here with the Wrestling Wrap-Up. A handful of news brought to you in one easy-to-watch video. As far as today's show does go, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things to talk about. Kind of 11, but the first two go together. We're going to talk about Vince McMahon wanting to sell WWE. WrestleMania ticket sales, Money in the Bank, Mandy Rose, AEW stars showing up at PWG, who the heck is Uncle Howdy and who we now know, and so much more. But with that, that's the Wrestling Wrap-Up, and that's what we're going to talk about right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Whether you're watching live, twitch.tv/Pro Wrestling, twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below, or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel, one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime. Whether you have Amazon Prime or know somebody else that has Amazon Prime, then you can have access to Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and they always give you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Remember, also on the flip side, you can do some support on YouTube by becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to news, early access to podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. You can also get all that content over at patreon.com/PW Unlimited. And finally, head over to the Epic Games Store. Head over to the Epic Games Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, hey, claim one of the free games. Right now, you can get Kerbal Space Program, which is a very fun game, and you can get Shadow Tactics Aoki's Choice for free. Go to the Epic Game Store, put in code PW Unlimited at checkout. It's PWU NLIMITED at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. You're trying to get in that new season of Fortnite, trying to get in that new season of Rumbleverse, getting stuff for Rocket League, getting stuff for Fall Guys. Well, use this code. Whether you're using it on the Epic Game Store or for any Epic games, whether that's on the PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, or your phone, don't forget to use our code because it doesn't cost you anything to actually put the code in. It's free to put in this code right here. And I do want to apologize. You guys know I cough sometimes on stream, and I've got a chronic cough. And I go, well, now my throat's a little sore, so I'm going to be coughing even a little bit more. So I do want to apologize for that. A little stuffed up, got a little scratchy throat. Hopefully I'm not getting, I'm getting something. Hopefully I'm not really getting too sick. And finally, I did say finally already, but finally, go to TikTok, tiktok.com/PW Unlimited, and support us over there as well. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers by the end of the week. Last week we were at 550 something. Now we are up to, as of right now, 841. So it does look possible that we do get up to 1,000 followers by the end of the week. So that's awesome. And we greatly appreciate all the support that you give over there on TikTok, or whether that's on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you follow our content. We greatly appreciate it. But speaking of content, first thing we got to talk about, big content story as well. Who's going to be in charge of WWE's content in the next year? Is that Triple H? Is that Vince McMahon? Or is that somebody else? Because it looks like Vince really wants to sell the company. Now, we heard all the stories last week that Vince is putting himself back on the board of directors. Now, what we have learned is that on December 20th, Vince McMahon, and I'm going to go through this really quick because we talked about this part a little bit on Friday's show. But Vince McMahon sent a letter to the board of directors stating, I want back on the board. I want to be in place at the head of the board. And if you don't, well, I won't agree to any sale of the company or media rights deals. And the board said no. The board was like, unanimously, we're not voting you back on. And Vince goes, that's fine, because I didn't need your vote. I just wanted to do that as a courtesy. I'm putting myself back on. and Vince has the right to do so. He also would put back on Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. Now, in doing so, 3 people were let go from the board, but then 2 people quit the board. One being Manjit Singh, I think is what his name was. He was the one actually in charge of the Vince McMahon, investigation. And I've heard personally, but I've heard in like multiple podcast things of people that know, like Fightful and Dave Meltzer and stuff like that, that they are hearing that there's still some possible news that can come out on Vince that's not going to make Vince look good. Like, there's more that could come. That's the thing. So when you think about Vince getting put back on the board of directors, you probably think, oh, that's going to hurt the stock. Oh, when the Wall Street Journal report came out, I'm trying to pull up the WWE stock right now, see what it's at. When the Wall Street Journal report came out last month that Vince wanted back in the company, stock dipped. Stock dipped. Not a lot, but a little, because everyone thought, oh, Vince coming back, that's not good. So why did the stock rise? I've been asked that question all weekend. Why did the stock rise when Vince actually came back, opposed to the stock dropping to reports of Vince wanting to come back? Well, the dip was just for Vince coming back, period. The rise is not for Vince coming back, but a potential sale of the company. That is why the stock is going up, because of the heavily talked about reports of Vince wanting to sell the company. Now, according to Dave Meltzer on last night's Wrestling Observer Radio, he did state that apparently Vince wants to sell this company not just before the next set of TV rights deals go into effect, before they even start negotiating the next set of TV rights deals. Meltzer's quote was, and I'm not quoting this verbatim, but basically Meltzer said that all indications are that Vince would like to possibly have the company sold in the first half of the year. First half of 2023. Now, I know CNBC and some others put out a list of a bunch of different companies that could be potential buyers of WWE. And here's the one thing I have to say about that list. That's not a list of, my sources are telling me these are all the interested companies. No. That's a list of, here are all the different companies that we believe, A, could buy WWE, or at least have interest in buying WWE, and B, has enough money to make that purchase. As of right now, WWE is worth anywhere from $4 to $6 billion. Now, WWE has hired firm JP Morgan to help with the sale. JP Morgan will reportedly advise WWE on their potential sale. With the company considering a potential sale, WWE has reportedly hired a bank to assist in the process, as we have learned, quote, WWE has hired JP Morgan to help the company advise on a potential sale, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, this report is coming from, I'm reading it from F4W Online. I'm not sure if they are the original source of this story, but there's no actual credit on who. Hold on. Actually, let's see right here. This is from CNBC. This is from CNBC originally. All right, I got to give all full credit, but they state JP Morgan declined to comment, and a WWE spokesperson couldn't immediately be reached when asked for a comment. If the deal occurs, it will likely occur in the next 3 to 6 months. So that also goes in what Meltzer was saying. Said people with knowledge who asked not to be named because the discussions are private. WWE plans to talk to potential buyers before it makes its next television TV rights renewal deals. The Wall Street Journal reported that McMahon communicated with the board to get himself back on the board because basically Vince wanted to be involved in talks. Yes, Vince could go, sell my company. But if I don't like who you're selling to, I can say no. But not just that. Vince wants to be in those meetings. Nick Khan will also be in those meetings. And Conrad Thompson actually spoke about this, stating that he's got some knowledge from some sources on Nick Khan and what his role is right now within WWE and his role since signing with WWE. Speaking on the What Happened When podcast with Tony Schiavone, Conrad Thompson said the following on a potential WWE sale. Quote, I've been saying on this program for a while that WWE was going to sell. You know why I said that? Because I knew. Remember when Nick Khan first joined WWE? When he joined, he was an agent. I happened to have some friends who need representation like that. My friend was represented by the same company that Nick Khan was sort of running. My friend said that this guy who runs this big agency is now going to WWE. He thought, what the fuck does this make any sense? He called the contact. What's up with Nick going to WWE? He said, this is a year ago. Nick has a deal with Vince where his contract gets a big payday when he facilitates a sale. He told me the number. Now, I won't say the number because that's talking about someone's money, and that's not cool. But let's say it's more than AEW's TV contract is for a year, and it's a lot. I've heard back channels before Mean Gene Okerlund passed away. He said, I heard from, I won't say who, he heard from when the stock gets to so-and-so, this has been brewing for a while. So basically, as we've always heard, Nick Khan was brought in to facilitate a sale to WWE. Nick Khan was brought in to make the books look good for a potential sale. Hence why people started getting released. And the most I've talked all day. It's really starting to hurt. I'm going to try and get my throat lubricated through this. So what it is the same thing we've always known, but with a little more context. We've always known that Nick Khan was brought into WWE to help potentially sell the company, to help get the company in a financial state that would appease to potential suitors. That was always Nick Khan's role when Vince hired him. Nick Khan also helped get WWE their last rights deal with Fox and their current deal on Peacock with the WWE Network content. So Nick Khan is a good negotiator. Vince feels like he's going to negotiate a good deal to sell this company. And in turn, Nick Khan is going to get a big fat payday, a big bonus. And here's the thing. If Vince is as savvy with business as I think he is, these bonuses to Nick Khan probably won't even come out of Vince's pocket. If Vince did what I think he could have done, he could have put into Nick Khan's WWE contract that when this company is sold, or if the company is sold, Nick gets this much money in incentives or bonuses or commission. That has to come from WWE assets, WWE's bank account. So in turn, and now this is just me speculating, but if that is the case, whoever's buying the WWE may actually have to pay Nick Khan to sell it to them. Now, in retrospect, AEW is reportedly making roughly $45 million a year. So, is that number that Nick Khan can make by selling WWE or facilitating the sale somewhere like 50? Because, I mean, Conrad said, he's heard, it's more than AEW's TV contract deal for a year. And AEW makes reportedly $45 million a year. So it's unknown who they can sell to. Again, CNBC had a list of names that I'm not even going to read because it's like they're just throwing names out there. It's a pie in the sky thing as far as the company's most likely going to get sold. But there's only maybe one or two potential suitors, I believe, like Comcast, NBC Universal. And so there's that company. There's WME. No, WME, maybe. Endeavor, who owns the UFC, has said that they would, hear him out. They've said that in the past. But there's also rumors that Vince could just sell the company to the country of Saudi Arabia and the Saudi government. And then, in turn, they put Vince in charge or something. Because that could also be something Vince wants. Now, Friday, WWE had a big old hands-on meeting at the headquarters in Stamford and said, yes, Vince is back on the board, but that's it. Vince is back on the board to help talk about a sale, help talk about TV deals. Vince is not coming in to work in his old office. Vince is not coming in to take over creative. everything we're doing since Vince left is going to be the day-to-day, the same, the do-to-do. So nothing's changing there. Yet. What if Vince wants to be in those sale talks because he wants to sell to somebody? Then we'll go, well, we're only buying it if Vince is back in charge of everything. If Vince is back running Raw and SmackDown. If Vince is back running creative. What if that's why Vince wants to be in those talks? To sell to a company that won't buy it and go, okay, now just keep it how it is right now. Triple H is in charge. Stephanie, Nick Khan, co-CEOs. We'll go from there. No. The word is that Vince could be doing all of this to slowly shoehorn his way back in, get power again, as far as having this new company buy it and then say, oh, and by the way, Vince, putting you back in charge because we could do so. There's a lot of different things going on right now within WWE. And we just sit and play the waiting game. Again, multiple reports are stating that WWE could be sold within the next 6 months. And that Vince would like to have this sale done before he has to go in there and negotiate a TV rights deal. TV rights are up at the end of 2024. So in turn, this fall is when you would start talking with NBC and with Fox. And if things don't go there, then I think there's a window that after maybe 6 months or so, I don't know for sure, but there's a window if you speak with NBC and you speak with Fox and you go, I like this, but I want this. And they say no and this and that. Then they can go and speak to somebody else. Hence, when they didn't like what they were getting for SmackDown from NBC, so they went and spoke to Fox. And then the Fox deal came in play. So we'll see where it all does go. But it's very, very interesting that Vince McMahon is back, for one. But two, back to sell this company and possibly get himself back in charge in doing so. Well, speaking of WWE and sales and money, Mania for this year out here selling record numbers of tickets. We got Nick in the live chat right here on Twitch. What's going on? Nick said, painting my nails, got polish all over my keyboard. I'm gonna fucking scream. Anyway, where the fuck has Otis been, man? Otis is on Raw every week with Chad Gable. You just don't watch the current product, Nick. Otis has been on Raw every week with Chad Gable. He ain't the old Otis Dozovich, the bulldozer, whatever you want to, you know. He's been on Raw just about every single week and some SmackDowns with his real life best friend, Chad Gable. But speaking of WrestleMania and WrestleMania ticket sales, WWE sent out the following on basically WrestleMania breaking records already. WWE today announced that WrestleMania goes Hollywood, WrestleMania 39, which will originate from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles across 2 nights, broke the company's all-time gate record for any WrestleMania despite having yet to announce a single match. The previous record announced was 17.3 million in 2016 for WrestleMania 32 at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. The record gate comes on the heels of an unprecedented ticket sale demand for WWE in 2022, in which it preceded its highest grossing gates of all time for Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Extreme Rules, Clash of the Castle, in which WWE marked its first major stadium show in 30 years overseas, which was the highest grossing event in the company's history. Now, they don't give the number here for WrestleMania tickets, and as far as how much money WrestleMania has made. But as of last week, according to WrestleTix, they're reporting that 49,584 tickets have been sold for night 1, and 50,114 tickets have been sold or at least distributed for night 2. Roughly 3,100 are available for night 1 and 3,200 available for night 2 via resale. So if WWE has surpassed the $17.3 million gate for the event, that would average roughly $174 a ticket being sold. Currently on Ticketmaster, the cheapest ticket that you can get right now is $120. That is for rows 2 and 3 still available, with the highest tickets right now, rows 2 and 3, $7,400. Jesus Christ. That's for night one. The cheapest ticket for night two, $138 and $7,400 for the most expensive. So there we go. And also combo tickets. Cheapest combo tickets still available are $261. The most expensive combo 2-night tickets, $7,345. So WrestleMania out here breaking records. And like they said, we haven't even announced one match yet. But speaking of WWE pay-per-views, once we get done with WWE and WrestleMania and all that, then we've got May, then we've got June, and then we got July, where Money in the Bank will be taking place over there in the O2 Arena in London, and we got some news about that as well. Now, the reason why WWE chose the O2 Arena in London, England to host Money in the Bank has been revealed. It was announced earlier this month that on July 1st, WWE will return to the UK for a pay-per-view, and this time it's Money in the Bank. According to a new report from Fightful, they state that WWE notably has a long history of running television and house shows from Madison Square Garden, and it is seen that the O2 is like the MSG of London, the MSG of the UK. Fightful noted that another source believes that running Money in the Bank as a high-profile international event helps establish the importance of Money in the Bank as one of WWE's biggest shows of the year. Back in the O2 Arena was reportedly a collaborative effort within WWE. The O2 Arena has a capacity up to 20,000 for shows like WWE and stuff, meaning that Money in the Bank will have considerably less fans than Clash of the Castle did with 62,000, but it's still going to look good on them running a big major pay-per-view overseas internationally. So, yes, they're not going for like Wembley or something. They're not trying to go for 50, 60,000 like they did with Clash of the Castle, but it's still big news because WWE is running one of their bigger shows of the year outside of the United States, overseas and in the UK. So kudos on WWE for doing all of that. But one person that's not going to be at Money in the Bank, at least I don't think so, is Mandy Rose, because she got canned earlier this year, or actually late last year, and spoke about this all on Tamara Hall show. Rose, real name Amanda Sacamano, will appear as a guest on today's edition of Tamara Hall, which is a syndicated talk show that airs on ABC stations, and I believe in some markets, other networks as well, mostly ABC. And the description of the episode states that Rose will address her, quote, controversial firing from WWE in an exclusive interview with Hall. Now, here's the thing. In some places, this show airs in the afternoon. In some places, this show airs in the morning. So some people may have already seen this, but it's a very interesting thing that they got Mandy on a talk show to talk about being fired by WWE, but the description of the episode does state, quote, Tamara has an exclusive interview with former WWE's Mandy Sacamano as she addresses her controversial firing from WWE. And then they'll also have 5-time Grammy and Emmy nominee and actress comedian Margaret Cho. She's going to stop by as well, and this and that. So Mandy Rose will be on the show. She says she's excited for everybody to tune in, and we'll see exactly where it all goes because, again, it hasn't aired yet, but it's going to be a very interesting interview to take a look at because she hasn't spoken really since being fired. Her manager spoke for her. Fan Time spoke for her, kind of, but she hasn't said anything publicly until this interview drops. And like I said, it's a syndicated talk show. So in some markets, it's before noon. In some markets, it's afternoon. I know my mom sometimes has this on because she has it on before Rachel Ray comes on, and she just kind of watches it in the background, but she's really just waiting for Rachel Ray to come on, and that's like 1 or 2 in the afternoon or something like that, maybe 3 when Rachel Ray comes on. So it's like, I've seen the show, never paid attention myself. I'll pay attention to Rachel Ray because I'm like, ooh, what's she cooking? Oh, I can make that chili. Oh, I can make those cookies. Oh, I can make those cannolis. So it's like, I've seen the show on. There's a lot of times it comes on, at least here, right before Rachel Ray. So we'll see how that goes. But, and speaking of one person who WWE let go, who WWE fired, who WWE no longer has under contract, now we got to talk about somebody who WWE wants to bring in from another company. And that That person is Tama Tonga. Yes, WWE is interested in the current NJPW Never Openweight Champion. This report does come to Fightful from Fightful, as Fightful states the following. Fightful has learned that WWE has internally expressed interest in Tama Tonga. While we're told that the interest is possibly bringing in, the interest of bringing in Tonga isn't new, word traveled through the New Japan locker room ahead of Wrestle Kingdom 17. Ironically enough, Tama Tonga faced WWE talent and former Never Openweight champion Carl Anderson at Wrestle Kingdom 17 and ended up winning the belt. Now, this isn't the first time WWE wanted to sign Tama Tonga. 40-year-old Tama Tonga had a WWE offer about 7 years ago, in which he turned down in order to remain with New Japan and team with his brother Tangaloa. The two have remained with New Japan ever since, with being members of Bullet Club and then getting out of Bullet Club, and they got their brother Hikuleo there and this and that, and so we've seen them with Haku. So very interesting. The WWE wants to bring Tama Tonga back in again, and in turn, they're also interested in Tangaloa. No, I don't know if they're also interested. No. They're interested in, I don't know if they're interested in Tangaloa, but they are also interested in Hikuleo. That's what it is. Hikuleo, not Tama Tonga. Now, here's the thing. The reason Tama Tonga has stated in the past he didn't sign with WWE 7 years ago was because his brother didn't have a good experience when he was in WWE. When Tangaloa was in WWE as Camacho. You remember, Tangaloa was Camacho in WWE, eventually left. Went to New Japan, became Tangaloa, teamed with his brother, started the Guerrillas of Destiny, and there we go. So I think this is a very interesting one, but the story's not done. The report does go on to state that New Japan sources have claimed that Tama Tonga's New Japan contract is actually up in a matter of weeks. Now, we don't know how many weeks a matter of weeks is. Is that 2 weeks? Is that 3 weeks? Is that 6 weeks? Is that 10 weeks? If that's like 3, could WWE potentially sign Tama Tonga right before the Rumble and then debut him in the Royal Rumble a la AJ Styles 2016? That would be an interesting one. That would be a very interesting one, because if you debut him in the Rumble, that means he's starting on the main roster just like AJ did. And I think that's the route to go. I think if you bring in a Tama Tonga, and I'm not just saying this, I think Tama Tonga is as big of a international celebrity, or not celebrity, but star in wrestling as AJ Styles, because AJ Styles is way well more known than Tama Tonga, especially by a lot of different types of fans, because Tama Tonga's mostly just been New Japan for the last, I don't even know how many years. He's done some Impact, but that's really it. Some Impact last year, but mainly New Japan. AJ was known from his stint in Impact Wrestling TNA, Ring of Honor, working like Progress Wrestling, and so AJ was known from doing more things. But there's 2 reasons why I say Tama Tonga would need to go straight to the main roster. A, because he's just that damn good. And I think that he would feel misused in NXT, as far as I feel like he would be just like flopping around, waiting his time for the main roster instead of actually being used really well. I just don't see them using him well in NXT. I can see them using him very well on the main roster. And then you also have his age. He's 40. You're not going to go put a 40-year-old guy down there in NXT to just sit and wait on him. And then how long till they call him up? No, just call him up right away. So I think if Tama Tonga does eventually sign with WWE, bring him straight to the main roster, especially if you bring him up. Now, we don't know this, but if you sign him and Tangaloa and bring them both together as a tag team, then they got to go main roster, because that'd be a phenomenal main roster tag team, Guerrillas of Destiny or whatever name they go by. And now, Tama Tonga, like I said, primarily worked New Japan, worked some Impact Wrestling, but never worked AEW. Even though New Japan has a partnership, you could say, with AEW, he never worked AEW. And speaking of AEW, apparently they're getting some changes to their championship belts per a new report. I want to say from Fightful. Fightful states that several title belts are getting new logo changes coming up soon. Now, I don't know exactly what that means because AEW hasn't changed their logo. But the report also notes that the tag team championship belts in particular also had some minor updates. So we'll see exactly what these changes do mean. Not that big of a deal, but I thought it was an interesting enough story to just hit on it really quickly. AEW belts could be getting some changes. It's weird because it says most will be just getting some logo changes, but I don't know exactly what that means. But in keeping with All Elite Wrestling, Kyle O'Reilly hasn't been seen for a while, and he actually did an interview speaking about, well, his recovery and his health and all that goes with that. O'Reilly has taken to Instagram to reveal that he's dealing with a post-surgical issue that he will discuss in the future. Discussing his recent health struggles, O'Reilly captioned the post with stating, "New year, new me. I hate how cheesy and cliche that sounds, but in this case of Kyle O'Reilly in 2023, it rings very true. Dealing with post-surgical issues that I will disclose at a later date has caused me a lot of frustration, and I've spent the last few months of 2022 with anger and confusion. In order for me to return to the ring, I simply cannot come back as I was. I have to become better in every aspect of my athletic wellness. I have to train better, eat smarter, and recover with intention. Many of you are aware of my battle with type 1 diabetes, and that also puts me at a disadvantage in terms of healing and recovery. Thankfully, working with the diabetic fighter has inspired me to regain control of my life and to finally hop off the blood sugar roller coaster. I cannot recommend this man's services enough. In 6 days alone, I'm spending more time in my target range than I have in months. And, of course, I couldn't pull it off without my trusty ever since GM. It's astonishing how consistently accurate this device is and has been to my tag team partner for almost 5 years. If the transmitter falls off during physical therapy or I walk into a door frame, I can just stick it back on. I haven't spoken much about my injury and the mental struggles I faced, but I'm realizing how therapeutic it might be to just write this down. Our words have so much power, even if you're just thinking them or writing them down. So a, quote, new me is a necessity to ensure that I will once again have the honor and privilege of walking down the ramp and stepping through those ropes. Expect more from me as the months go on and witness a glimpse into how I rebuild and retrain myself for a return that I can't wait to see you all." We did post some images here. I'm going to pull up on the screen. Boom, 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 boom. He posted these along with the big caption as well of just him, trying to get out there. There's his daughter. There's him. Oh, wait, nope. I'm not doing the right thing. Here it is. Wrong button. So it's just him kind of like just giving us a slight update. And then there's this one just showing like his target levels are good and stuff. But hey, we never want anybody to come back too soon. We never want anybody to come back when they're not ready. If you're not ready, don't come back. Don't come back and get worse off than you were, I guess you could say. So, I know he's never going to probably hear this, but if I can give Kyle O'Reilly any advice, I would say, take your time. We'd love to have you back on our television screens, but not if it's at the risk of your health and your mental well-being. So take your time and come back when you feel and know you're ready. Again, I know he's never going to hear me say that, but we'll go with that. Also, speaking about AEW, Saraya recently spoke with Metro and kind of confirmed some rumors that were going around last October. In a feature with the UK-based Metro, Saraya reiterated how much she likes Paul Levesque and recounts their talks after her deal ended in July of 2022, as he was surprised to hear that it wasn't renewed by the then Vince McMahon / John Laurinaitis regime. She stated, quote, "He did give me the opportunity to potentially be a GM again and give me the opportunity to be like, if you ever potentially want to wrestle again, I'll give you that opportunity too." He was very open about the ideas that I had, she said. So that does confirm that Triple H did try to get her back before she signed with All Elite Wrestling, but it just wasn't a go for her. She wanted to go try something new, try something different, go over there. I don't know exactly how long her deal's for. Some have said 3, some have said 4, some have said 5 years, probably 3 or 5. And so we'll see if she finishes up with the AEW deal and then goes back to WWE, or maybe she's done wrestling after that. We don't know exactly what she wants to do, but she got finished up this AEW contract first. And from all accounts, at least that she's making it sound, she's enjoying her time thus far in All Elite Wrestling. Now, somebody that's really enjoyed their time in AEW, well, that's Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho not only, works for AEW, but this past weekend, Jericho showed up at PWG's Battle of Los Angeles. Yup, not just Jericho, but the entire Jericho Appreciation Society appeared at Bola. Appearing alongside the entire Jericho Appreciation Society faction, Chris Jericho came out with his faction and joined Daniel Garcia, who was already flanked by Sammy Guevara, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Anna Jay and Ty Mello with Jake Hager, as they took on Jonathan Gresham, Evil Uno, SB Kento, Michael Oku, and Kevin Blackwood in a 10-man tag team match. So originally it was supposed to be a 6-man tag. And Bola was a 2-night event, as it usually is. And on night 1 and night 2, Daniel Garcia was playing up the, I'm a sports entertainer, I'm better than all of you pro wrestlers, right? Excuse me. And they're coming out for a 6-man tag. Now, I don't know exactly who was on what side, but I think Michael Oku and Kevin Blackwood were originally supposed to team with Garcia, who's the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla champion, the PWG champion. And when he made the comment of, oh, I'm a sports entertainer, this and that, they kind of got upset with him. And then out would come certain members of the JAS, like Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Then you would see, and none of this was filmed, this is just what I have heard from first-hand accounts that were at the show. Blackwood and Oku, I think that's who it was, Blackwood and Oku ended up walking to the other side of the ring, basically like, we ain't teaming with this guy. We'll team with them. Then out would come Sammy Guevara. Out would come Jake Hager, Ty Mello, Anna Jay, and then eventually Chris Jericho. Word is that people knew a big surprise was going to happen. And people backstage, of course, knew that it was Jericho. But nobody, as far as fans do go, knew Jericho was going to be there. Also, people were very skeptical when freaking Daniel Garcia came out wearing a very sparkly gold jacket. So, according to Dave Meltzer, who was there live, stated, quote, super entertaining. They treated this like a major match, all action. They all did the slow motion spot for minutes until Jericho started chopping Oku hard. Jericho and Oku were the highlights. But Jericho gave Blackwood a lot of near falls on him before the Bay shot by Garcia set up the Judas effect. Jericho also called this like the modern ECW. And the fans really wanted to hear Daddy Magic. Fans even threw money. So there we go. No, okay, so here it is. Garcia was originally scheduled to team with Blackwood and Jonathan Gresham. That's who it was. Blackwood and Jonathan Gresham. So that's really cool to see that Chris Jericho and the rest of the JAS went and worked Bola. They didn't have a match in the Bola tournament or anything, but they worked the Bola show. Now, final news story we have to talk about has to kind of do with tonight's Monday Night Raw. Hence why I left it towards the end, because this could be, I'm going to say right now, a potential spoiler for tonight's Monday Night Raw, as it is being reported by multiple sources that Bo Dallas is actually backstage at tonight's Raw. Now, the reason this is notable is because many fans have speculated that Bo Dallas could be Uncle Howdy. The only thing announced for tonight's Monday Night Raw is that Alexa Bliss will make some sort of an announcement and reveal what's really been going on with her. Now, with knowing, and this comes from both Fightful and PW Insider, knowing that Bo Dallas is at Raw in Birmingham, Alabama, maybe that means Uncle Howdy could be showing up tonight on Raw. Now, let's stop fantasy booking. So we know that Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt, they ain't no too copacetic. Uncle Howdy gave Bray a Sister Abigail. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Who used a Sister Abigail also recently? Oh, Alexa Bliss. He hit a Bianca Belair with one. What if Uncle Howdy had been trying to control Bray, been trying to possess him, but Bray was too strong-willed or something and wouldn't let Uncle Howdy control him, hence why Uncle Howdy turned on him? What if, in doing so, he still needs somebody to control, and he ended up taking control of Alexa Bliss? So what if all these Bray Wyatt logos for, above Alexa haven't been for her reuniting with Bray, but for her actually being possessed in a way by Uncle Howdy? In turn, Uncle Howdy being Bo Dallas. Just a fantasy booking assumption. So that's all we really do know for tonight's Monday Night Raw, that Bo Dallas is backstage. Why would he be there if he's not going to be used? No word on Bray, but Bo Dallas is there. And Alexa Bliss will be making an announcement. That's all we know for Raw. We can go to WWE's website and check it really fast because, well, that's all we got. That's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up. Only thing announced is Alexa Bliss. So there we go. But with that, I want to say thank you for joining me here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited if you watched live or if you watched or listened later, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, we will be live tonight following Monday Night Raw. Hopefully my voice don't get any worse because I'm hurting right now. But I'll power through, and we'll review tonight's Monday Night Raw, and we'll see you guys all there later tonight. So with that, have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys.